Now I'm going to talk about annotations. Annotations are pretty big when it comes to YouTube. If you've been watching YouTube videos, you've probably seen an annotation somewhere along the line. Typically what an annotation is some kind of call to action, usually a link on the YouTube video that you're watching that allows you to click on it and either like subscribe to somebody's YouTube channel, go to a different video, or even go to a different website altogether. These are annotations and they can be pretty valuable when it comes to growing your YouTube channel. Now before you go and start loading up all your videos with annotations and bombarding your viewers with them, keep in mind that a lot of people out there don't really care for them. Granted, they can turn them off, but that's not a standard feature on YouTube. Typically, people will have their annotations on if they see your video and halfway through the video, half the screen is taken up by a random annotation. It's obviously going to be somewhat of a turnoff, not necessarily causing them to leave the channel completely, but if this type of trend continues, of course, they're going to find it a little more offensive and more offensive over time, and then just decide not to watch your content because they don't want to see these annotations taking up half the screen throughout the video. And by no means am I saying that annotations should be ignored completely and never used. They're definitely valuable if used right. Some of the things that I would recommend when annotating your videos is if you're going to use some kind of text on the annotation, which is the typical standard when annotating a video, you can put text in the video saying subscribe here or check out my other video. Do this, but make sure that the text isn't intrusive. Try to keep it as small as possible. Not necessarily the smallest it can possibly be, but small enough that people won't be offended by it if it pops up on their screen. The next thing is location of your annotations on your video. This one might seem kind of a small thing, but it does actually play a pretty big role. If you decide to put an annotation midway through your video and they click on that annotation and go to some external website, there's a high chance that they might not return to your video. Now, if this trade-off is worth it, say if you're linking to your own website or something that's gonna, in the end, pay off for you in terms of financial, or if you're gonna gain somebody subscribe to your newsletter or something along those lines, you can decide if that trade-off is worth it. But typically when people click away from your video to an external site off of YouTube, whether that be a social media page or something along those lines, they just won't return back to the video, which in the end will cost you some money if you're trying to get some kind of ad revenue from your videos. Now you can set it so your annotations pop up in a whole different window completely, leaving your video intact, but once again, it just gives that chance that people just won't watch your video. They might close the tab after they click on the link to go to the external site, and we just want to make sure that there's a small chance of that happening. Now that we talked about the middle of the video in terms of placement of your annotation, typically people place their annotations at the end of their video, usually in their outro section, popping up some kind of subscribe button or putting images that then link to other videos on their channel. And this is what I would recommend doing. Without a doubt, starting off, do this, because putting annotations at the end of your video, people are typically looking for things to do after watching your video, so give those things for them to do. Give them a link to a different video, give them a way to subscribe to your channel. They want to do things after watching your video. Typically watch more videos or subscribe to your channel so they don't miss out on your future videos. So those are some things. Keep annotations at the end of the video for sure. It is also a great way to link to your social media pages, whether that be Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or even your own websites. And you can do all of this through YouTube as long as your accounts are linked to your YouTube channel. And I'll talk about this a little bit later on. But to kind of overview this section, annotations are really important to YouTube. Learning how to use them is crucial, and you want to make sure that you're not going to turn off your viewers or potential viewers and subscribers from watching your content. Say if somebody stumbles upon one of your videos, they get halfway through and a big annotation pops up on the screen, that might turn them off a little bit. So you want to keep that in mind while going forward with your annotations. Typically placing them on the corners of your videos is a good method. Don't place them right in the center of the video because of course you're blocking content on the video itself, and people don't want to have to go through the hassle of closing the annotation if it's taking up too much real estate. Location is key when it comes to annotations, and not just the position it's placed on the screen, but when it is placed throughout your video. Placing it midway through your video and then having it linked to an external site, people may click on that annotation, go to the site, but never return to your video. So you have to keep that in mind. If you want people to stay with your video and watch your video all the way through, keep in mind that placing an annotation midway through it might reduce the chance of that happening. Adding annotations at the end of the video, on the other hand, is a really good method to go about gaining subscribers and potentially having people watch other videos on your channel. Linking to other videos and having a subscribe button that they can physically click on the video is a really great way to interact with your fans. You can also link to your social media, external websites, all that good stuff at the end of the video, because typically when people get done watching your video, they're looking for other things to do, and if you give them things to do, whether that be watch a video on your channel, a different video on your channel, or go to your website, they will more than likely do it or have a higher chance of doing that. So these are just some of my methods. I do hope you enjoyed it, and I'll talk to you guys in the next section.